How you doing? A very good afternoon to you. Thanks for clicking on to the long range discussion for today, the 16th of January. And believe me folks, we've got a lot of excitement in terms of winter weather across pretty much all the continents over the northern hemisphere over the course of the next 7 to 10 days. We have seen a tanking of the Arctic Oscillation releasing all that cold air to the south. And yes, we've seen that reality of cold and snowy weather across parts of even northeast Africa, Egypt, and as well as that, recently we've seen record temperatures, snowfall across Greece and across even parts of Spain as well, I've seen. But certainly the evidence is there, folks, of that recent warming of the stratosphere, and of course we have got plenty of winter weather over the course of the next week ahead. We have got Europe filling up with very, very cold air, and I think some of the models aren't capturing the low-level Arctic air, and I think, you know, many parts, eastern cities of Europe and into central parts of Europe will see highs in the -6 to -10 Celsius range. Record cold is, I think, a possibility over the course of the week ahead. Yes, we've got a return to milder conditions. We have got a weak system as it pushes into the UK and Ireland over the course of the next 24 to 36 hours. We will see a reintroduction of temperatures back into the 8 to 12, even 13, even 14 Celsius range by Wednesday. But as the course of the week progresses, we see that Arctic air starting to, change over the course of the continent of Europe. I'm going to have a quick showing of this is actually the GFS deterministic Arctic oscillation bias. This is off Dr. Ryan Murray's site, polyclimate.com. I encourage you to check it out. And you can see here, this is actually for the Arctic oscillation, and it shows actually quite an interesting trend. This here blue line is the actual what has happened over the past, well, this is since basically since December 1st. You notice how positive the Arctic oscillation has been, but as you can see here, folks, from about the 22nd right around Boxing Day, you've seen, and of course Boxing Day was very, very warm here around the UK. We've seen a high on Christmas Day in the UK of 15 degrees in northeast Scotland, and of course it was very mild across the United States as well. But you notice how the trend goes downwards. It actually clipped back to neutral by around the 6th of January, bounced back up, and bounced again back down towards neutral, and it actually has been relatively positive. But if you notice here at the latter part, this is of course the little circles here show the bias towards a reduction in the Arctic oscillation towards and into the negative, back down to even -2. That would be the lowest in quite some time in the Arctic Oscillation Index, and that would be very interesting. Let's have a quick look at the North Atlantic Oscillation as well, and you can see here, I'm going to click onto this map here. This is the same model, and it's for relation to the North Atlantic Oscillation. Notice as well, it's been trending very highly positive around the 26th. Ironically, basically it was both the Arctic Oscillation and the North Atlantic Oscillation were at the height around the Christmas and Boxing Day period. But ever since that, we have seen a very sharp drop, of course, basically between Christmas Day and New Year's Day. Then it rose, and now ever since that, we've seen that trend more towards neutral. It's been struggling to get into the neutral range, and of course that neutral would suggest that where the atmosphere is trying to get closer to that blocking pattern. Now, over the course of the next, basically the next few weeks, as we progress into February, there is a bias and there is an indication, folks, quite widely within the models of a return to a negative North Atlantic oscillation. That, as well as coinciding with many great models out there, would suggest blocking over the North Atlantic and Greenland. And what that would mean is very, very cold air, more locked down. So longer and stronger cold, I believe, is going to be the case in the weeks ahead. Now, over the course of the next week ahead, we have got lots of winter, the most amount of winter we've seen in the mid latitudes of the season so far. We have seen a pretty substantial shot of cold in the Midwest and the Northeast over the past few days across the eastern United States. But let's skip ahead. Let's just look quickly at Asia first. I'm getting my continents mixed up here. But if you skip through the sequence, folks, you notice here the European is portraying an expansion of the Arctic air, very, very cold air, over Asia. And in the latter part of the series here, Monday the 23rd into Tuesday, notice how it expands over Asia. That is an interesting factor indeed. Let's skip ahead to North America quickly. And you can see here by Monday, that is of course today, plenty of cold air over Canada. We have seen very, very cold conditions compared to what we've seen recently. But as I progress through the sequence, folks, notice how the air both expands in terms of in distance, but as well as that, it grows stronger. Look at that. By Thursday the 19th, we have got very frigid air covering particularly western Canada and into the prairie provinces. I am forecasting a temperature down to -40 in Edmonton. Recently, folks, we've seen temperatures in the 8 to 9 Celsius range. This will be, I believe, one of the greatest winter turnarounds in many decades across parts of Canada. We will see, of course, that Arctic air bleeding into, first of all, the northern half of the Rockies, into the northern plains, Midwest, and eventually into the northeastern United States. As for Europe, we have got lots of winter to talk about as well. The Arctic cold building over Eastern Europe. It's a broken record, of course. By Tuesday, into Wednesday, you can see how it expands, and of course we're watching, like I've kept saying to you, we're watching that trough over the North Atlantic. By Wednesday into Thursday, notice how the trough starts to sweep in. We've got a system here by Wednesday into Thursday going to produce increased wind, rain, but as well as that, folks, as that system progresses eastwards, carves out the trough, pushes a cold front southeastwards across the UK and Ireland, we have got winter back into the UK after a very mild spell midweek. By Thursday into Friday, you notice that cold covering more of the UK and Ireland. Folks, I do believe that not only the northern half of the UK will see the potential for snow, but everywhere across the UK will be in that colder air. You notice how we see, once again, I continue to say this, I feel as if I continuously repeat myself for the past 10 days. Notice how, as the trough digs in, we raise heights over Eastern Europe. That, of course, transfers the cold, the Arctic cold, up into Scandinavia again. And once this trough deepens, folks, I believe we will be able to see the flow transfer that Arctic air from Norway, Sweden, into Finland, across and down into the UK and Ireland. I believe that while temperatures struggled -6 to -10 across many eastern and central parts of Europe early to midweek, I think by the latter part of the week into next weekend, it's basically the tide will have turned in. We'll see warming across eastern parts of Europe. We'll see colder across western parts of Europe. And I believe that many towns and cities across the UK and inland Ireland will struggle to hit freezing by perhaps Saturday and certainly into Sunday, as we see that much colder air over the region. Into Friday and the Saturday, we've got a kind of reduction in terms of we've got building heights to the west of the UK. But notice that flow again coming out of the northwest, indicating cold northwesterly winds. And we have got lots of interesting pattern and conditions over the course of the week ahead. Basically by into next week, so after this upcoming weekend, we are looking at a pretty widespread warming across basically the mid latitudes of the northern hemisphere. And I think It's after that warming across North America, Europe, and then as well as that, even perhaps parts of Asia, will then see a return to colder conditions yet again. And I think it will be longer and stronger into February. Stay tuned. Hope you have a great evening, folks. Bye for now.